Super El Niño, will it crush India's 2026 monsoon or spare it once again?
Let's dive right into today's explainer, where we're unpacking a massive question. Will the ominous 2026 Super El Niño absolutely devastate India's agriculture, or are new proactive strategies going to save the day? The Pacific Ocean is warming up fast, and we really need to understand what that means for the food on our tables and the stability of the broader economy.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the Super El Niño threat, map out the 2026 monsoon, analyze the economic shock wave, detail India's resilience strategy, and wrap up with the long-term climate reality.
All right, Section 1, the Super El Niño threat. Let's break down exactly what this global meteorological heavyweight actually is.
Think of the normal Walker circulation as a massive atmospheric conveyor belt. Usually, trade winds push warm surface water all the way toward Asia. But during a El Niño, those winds just weaken. That warm water either stays put or literally slides backward toward the Americas, which completely alters the atmospheric pressure right above it.
Now, this doesn't just happen overnight. It's a domino effect of 4 distinct, catastrophic steps that completely rewire our global jet streams. First, as we said, the winds weaken. Then the heat migrates east. This forces the thermocline, that boundary between warm and cold water, it forces it downward, which stops cold water from rising up. Finally, this massive release of heat totally disrupts the atmosphere, and historically, that suppresses the monsoon rain clouds that India so desperately relies on.
But here's the kicker for 2026. This year is entirely different. A massive subsurface heat buildup, which is being supercharged by human-induced climate change, is pushing ocean temperatures to record-shattering levels. We're seeing surface temperature anomalies spiking way above normal. Because the baseline temperature of the ocean is already elevated, this 2026 event is shaping up to be a historic Super El Niño. It's essentially amplifying climate disruptions across the globe.
Moving on to Section 2, mapping the 2026 monsoon. Let's see how this Pacific heating directly impacts the rain clouds over the Indian subcontinent.
So what does this actually mean for rainfall? Well, the numbers from the India Meteorological Department are frankly a bit sobering. There's a highly concerning 66% combined probability of deficient or below normal seasonal rainfall. That means there's a very strong chance the southwest monsoon will deliver less than 95% of its long-period average, which completely sets the stage for significant water stress.
But it's not a blanket drought across the board. The rainfall isn't distributed equally. We're looking at severe deficits in the central heartland, while the southern and northeastern regions might actually be spared. So if you're in Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, or central India, the data points to a really tough season ahead, especially in August and September. On the flip side, places like Telangana, Ladakh, or the Northeast are forecast to get normal or maybe even slightly above normal rainfall.
Let's jump into Section 3, the economic shockwave. How does a lack of rain translate into a national economic crisis?
It all comes down to the harvest. Historical data from previous El Niño years proves that a rainfall shortfall of just 10 to 11% triggers an almost equal 10% plunge in major Kharif crop yields. It's practically a 1-to-1 ratio. When the rain fails during those absolutely crucial summer sowing months, the output for vital crops drops right in direct proportion across key agricultural districts.
And why is the impact so direct? Because a staggering 48% of India's net sown area is entirely rain-fed. That leaves smallholder farmers completely at the mercy of the skies. Without the capital to invest in deep bore wells or micro-irrigation, these farmers face a massive livelihood crisis the second the monsoon underperforms. This is where it hits your wallet. This agricultural squeeze triggers a huge chain reaction. With sharp drops in Kharif output, food inflation skyrockets. We're talking spiking prices for pulses, edible oils, tomatoes, rice, sugar, the whole shebang. Rural demand plummets. And then the Reserve Bank of India might actually be forced to hike interest rates just to fight that food inflation, which slows down consumer spending across the entire economy.
Which brings us to Section 4, India's resilience strategy. Thankfully, it's not all doom and gloom.
We're seeing a massive, coordinated defense. India is actively pivoting from panic to proactive, climate-smart resilience. By pairing expanding irrigation networks with cutting-edge AI weather tracking and robust seed buffers, the government is treating this not as an inevitable disaster, but as a manageable risk.
And we actually have a huge ace up our sleeve this year.
Current water levels in major reservoirs are sitting at 127% of the decadal average. This acts as a massive insurance policy for farmers. It means that even if the skies stay dry, there's a substantial water bank already built up from last year to keep those irrigation canals flowing during the critical late summer months. At the government level, state officials are moving fast. They're actively rolling out district contingency plans to optimize exactly when and what farmers plant based on current moisture levels. They're releasing national buffer stocks of special drought-tolerant seeds, and they're making sure that essential credit lines like the PM Kisan framework are fully operational to absorb the financial shock for farmers.
Down on the ground, farmers are being empowered with very practical strategies. They're pivoting away from water-heavy paddy and switching to drought-tolerant pulses and millets. They're adopting water-saving micro-irrigation like drip and sprinkler systems to stretch every single drop. Plus, by utilizing hyperlocal AI advisories like NI.ai, farmers are getting real-time early warnings to guide their decisions, all of which is backed by much improved government crop insurance coverage.
Finally, Section 5, Long-Term Climate Reality. Let's pull back and look at the big picture of adapting to a permanent state of climate volatility.
There's a prevailing mindset shift happening right now, perfectly captured by the idea that drought is increasingly becoming a manageable risk. We obviously can't stop the ocean from warming, but through smart governance and tech, we can work to completely decouple our food security from the whims of the Pacific Ocean. It's shifting from just disaster relief to proactive, scientific management.
But to truly bulletproof the economy going forward, India has to tackle some deep systemic issues. For instance, India is currently the world's largest extractor of groundwater. Solving this requires rapidly scaling up local, village-level water conservation infrastructure, rolling out integrated river basin management, and making sure climate risk is baked directly into national economic policy.
So I want to leave you with this pivotal question to ponder. As the global climate regime shifts, is our technology, our AI, our infrastructure moving fast enough to outsmart the weather? The pieces are definitely in place, from AI forecasting to village-level water harvesting, but executing this on a massive national scale is going to be the ultimate test. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the 2026 monsoon. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.
Subscribe to Acore Concept. It's a knowledge-sharing channel. We help you learn, understand, apply, and grow. Subscribe now and join our community.